So I'm super excited about my order from the Rubber Buggy this month. And so the first thing I got was the Spellbinder dies, and it's the umbrella, but the front of the cover really confuses you because it really just comes with the umbrella and then flowers, and I'm not really sure why they didn't show the flowers on the front because that's what really got me. I wanted to get it for the flowers. And then I also bought the sentiment set, which is a stamp and die set. And so you get the sentiments, but you don't get those images that's on the front. You get the different stamps, and then you get a die to cut out the thinking of you as one piece, or hello, or then thinking of, and then you as a separate piece. So the cover is a bit confusing, so I just wanted to show you what is in both of these packs. I also ordered several different colors of cardstock, and this is my Colors Cardstock. Now, of course, I will link below to all of these products. They're in the Rubber Buggy, and this is my design team project for the Rubber Buggy. So I thought today it would be fun to create a card using the Spellbinder dies as well as the cardstock. So I'm just going to go through the cardstock and figure out which colors I want to use. And so I know that I need a red for the background. And then for the umbrella, I think I will use the blue and pink. And what's really cool about this paper is that it's really good cardstock, and it's dyed all the way through, so when you cut into it, you're not going to see a white edge or having any white showing in your dies. So for the card, I'm just using a 5.5 by 4.25 card base, and then I cut down the red cardstock to 5.5 by 4.25, and then for the white cardstock, I've cut it down to 5.25 by 4. So I'm going to start out by cutting out my white cardstock, and so this is going to be the base of my card, or the front of my card. And so here's a little raindrop, and when I saw the raindrop, I had this idea with the umbrella and the raindrop, what if our raindrops were actually hearts? So I'm just going to turn this raindrop into hearts. So I'll start out by just using some washi tape. I like to take my washi tape and press it on some fabric. This is just an old sweater that I have on. That gets the sticky off some so that you don't tear your paper as easily. Now I'm going to lay my umbrella out just to make sure that I leave space for my umbrella on this card. And this is kind of an idea of where it's going to go, but not exactly. So to cut out the hearts, I've decided to try it with raindrop. I've decided to try the raindrop as a heart. So I'm just going to cut out the raindrop one time, and then I'll take it off, and I will add the raindrop on the other side so that it is going to be a heart when we get done. Now, if you do this, don't worry about your hearts all being the same shape or all the same size. You're just going for a heart shape, and not all raindrops are the same. So that's why I decided that I was not concerned if some of my hearts were skinnier or some of them were fatter, but they all come out about the same. Now, you may want to practice this technique on a piece of scrap paper first if you're not sure, so you can get an idea of where to lay the raindrop the second time so that you get a good heart shape. And so each time that I lay my raindrop out to create a heart, I do lay out the umbrella just to make sure I'm leaving space for it and the umbrella is not going to cover my heart. Now for this one, I did decide I didn't want it straight across from the other heart because I want it to be pretty random, like raindrops would be. So I just moved it down just a little bit. And once again, I'll show you one more time. I take and cut out the raindrop, and it's actually, I'm cutting the raindrop out upside down, if you notice, and then I'm putting it onto the cardstock again and just lining it up so that I'll have a heart shape, and with the raindrop upside down again so that you create the heart shape. And you could just do this and have raindrops in the background, but I really wanted it raining hearts for this card. So I like to do things in threes, so I've put 3 hearts on the card, and I decided that if for some reason that wasn't enough, then I'll go back and add more once I decorate my card, start laying out my card and deciding where everything is going to exactly be. So now I'm just going to use the dies for the umbrella. So you have the back of the umbrella here, and then you have the umbrella shape itself, and then you have the dies that cut out a design for your umbrella. I'm also going to be using this little set of flowers. I love when flowers come with dies because they are so versatile. You can use them with so many different things. And I will be showing you this month some different ways that I'm going to be using them. So now when I cut my cardstock, I'm very stingy with it. And so I do lay out the dies that are going to need to be on my cardstock, and then I'm just going to cut it just barely bigger than the actual dies because I don't want to waste this cardstock at all. It's beautiful cardstock, and I know that I want to use it for lots of projects, so I am very stingy when it comes to my cardstock. So I just cut a small strip all the way down, and I did the same thing with the blue, and then I die cut everything out. I cut out the umbrella, I cut out the flowers, and I've cut out the handle and everything. So now I'm going to just put the umbrella together. And so I'm starting out by just adding glue to the back of the main color of the umbrella. And this one, when you cut it out, you'll lay your die down along with the design and cut the design out. And then I have a solid pink. And then I'm just going to layer it up. And I thought the pink and blue looked really sweet together. And these are really easy to layer up, but I thought I would just show you really quickly how I layered them up. So then I cut out a solid blue background for my umbrella. And so this just goes on top there, and you just line up your edges. The little, on the two corners, you've got the two edges. But before you glue that down, don't forget, you need your umbrella handle. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to the top of the handle. And that way it will attach to the front of my umbrella. And then once I add the back, I'll just sandwich it in between the front and the back. And so what I was saying before, to line up the back of your umbrella, you're just going to line up the bottom tips on the left hand side and the right hand side. You've got those little edges poking down. Just line those up with the background edges on your umbrella. So you don't want to add glue to the whole background, of course, because you've got part of it hanging down below the front. And I really love how this turned out. So now you do have a die so that you can cut out the handle, the actual part that you would hold in your hand. You can cut out a different color if you would like. And so I decided to match it to the main color of the umbrella. So I used the blue again. So now I'm going to stamp my card base first, the card front, not base, but the front. So this is the piece that we cut the hearts out of. So I'm just laying everything out, laying the umbrella on there, and deciding where I want my stamp. And I'm going to stamp this directly onto the front of the card. And I use my Stampin' Press for this because when I stamp wording, I'm awful at stamping wording. So I want to be sure that I get a crisp and clear image. So with the Stampin' platform, it makes it easier to reline it back up if I need to go back and stamp again. I'm also going to stamp onto some scrap cardstock, white cardstock, the thinking of you sentiment. And I stamp it a couple of times to get it exactly the way I wanted it to look. So one's a little thicker than the other because I stamped it multiple times, and I like the thicker one for this card. So now I'm going to use the die that is the whole piece thinking of you. At first I was thinking maybe I should use the thinking of and then you and layer it up, that way thinking could be above the you, but I decided I wanted to go across my card. So instead I'm going to use the larger one and cut out the entire wording all one piece. When I first got this set, I was really questioning what was those two extra pieces in there, and it took me a moment to figure out that it was separating out the thinking of and you. So it takes me a moment to layer that up and get my die exactly around the wording, but once I do, I just cut it out. And so I want to show you here on these hearts, you can see there's just a little bit of paper left on some of the edges. If that's bothering you, just go in behind the back of the heart and just snip that little piece of paper. And that way it gives you a complete heart without any paper left. And the reason that happened is because when you line your two raindrops up together, it's going to sometimes, if you don't get exactly right, exactly over far enough, it's going to leave just that little peak, but you can just trim it off your scissors. It's no big deal. So now we're just going to layer up the card. I'm just going to add the front to the red card base. And so I cut the card base, the red base, so that it fit the whole front of the card. I didn't want any white of the card showing. So that's how I'm going to layer this one up this time. Sometimes I have, you'll have it framed where you see a little bit of the card, then your background, and then the front of the card. For this one, I cut it large enough to cover the whole front of the card base, but you don't have to do that if you want more of the white of the card showing. And so now we're just going to add everything to our card. And so I start out by adding the umbrella first, because everything kind of goes around the umbrella, so I add it first. So now I'm just going to add the thinking of you sentiment, and I'm just going to add it across the bottom of the umbrella, or the umbrella handle, and I don't mind covering that up just a little bit. I thought the wording on this was so pretty. The thinking of you, that font is a beautiful font, so I love how it looks, and I love how it fits across the card. And then I'm just going to add some flowers to the umbrella, because I felt like these flowers just added to the umbrella. And so I'm just going to layer 3 of them up. Once again, I do things in threes. I think that's just something I was taught, and it's been in my head for years, and it looks good to the eye. And then I'm going to come back in. I felt like the card looked a little empty. It was just too much white. So I'm going to come back in and add some flowers around the wording. And so I really love how this card turned out. I really love these dies. They cut so smoothly. I ran them through my machine, no problem at all. But I love these little flowers, and I have lots more projects coming up this month using these flowers. So be sure to, if you're not subscribed, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you'll be notified when I upload those videos. They're not all just cards. Some of them are going to be junk journal projects, or journal projects, or you can even use them in your mini albums or in your scrapbooking. So it's a project that you can use many different ways. So be sure to check back later in the month for that. And most of the time I upload my rubber buggy videos on Tuesdays. Unless something happens, then I'll be on Thursdays, but pretty much it's on Tuesdays. Well, I love how this turned out, and I hope you've enjoyed this video and it sparks some ideas with you on how to use these dies. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.